get my 6. I heard something stomping away in the woods over there. I think it was just a deer. Guys, I'm going to give you a quick update on my family's traveling situation. They went to retest, and our plan was that if they were to be cleared through the testing, that we were just going to buy a new ticket and get them on the next plane out. But as it turned out, they weren't allowed to take the test because they didn't already have a ticket yet, leaving within 72 hours. So sounds like music. So anyway, their original flight date is only about a week away now. That's when it got pushed back from when our son tested positive there a few weeks ago. So we're at the point to where it didn't make sense to buy another ticket so they could test sooner, because by the time we bought one with enough time out to make the flight and all that stuff, they would have been within 2 days of the date for which they're already set to go, and we already have a ticket, and so there's no extra expenses were being put out. So that's what's going on. And if you're asking, well, that's crazy, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Remember, we're talking about a country that is not the U.S. and that is a developing nation. Their resources are not as abundant as ours. I mean, here you can walk into most cities. I know in Charlottesville, you can walk in just pretty much any pharmacy and get a test at will. If you have to schedule it, you can get in generally within 24 hours. And I don't want to give out misinformation, but this is accurate information because I live here and I know how it goes here. But you go to some of these developing nations, third world countries, and they just don't have the resources for that. And so they have to make sure they have the testing available for the people that are boarding the planes within 72 hours. Because if they just give them, let's say they give them to people and then they test either way, but they decide, well, I'm not going to take that trip anyway, they're out that test. And that traveler that needs on that plane within 72 hours because they've got their ticket, if the tests run out, they can't get on the plane and go. So that's the sense behind it. It can be frustrating, and trust me, nobody's frustrated more than, I don't even want to say we're frustrated, because we have been accepting this the whole way through. And we had our expectations that something like this would happen the whole way through. This isn't the first time we've dealt with traveling back and forth with the Philippines, but it is the first time doing it with a worldwide pandemic going on. So there's an extra bogey that we've had to overcome. But the good news is we're still within days. As far as the testing does go, well, when they take the testing, we're within days now, a week, maybe a little more than a week, but less than 2 weeks of my family coming home. So that's a good thing. And we've waited 2.5 months. What's another week, right? Just more stuff to check off of the honeydew list and the honey get done list. And honeybee went right by my ear. All right, so there's that. And then also, I wanted to let you know that I just got a box filled with these. You're like, oh, wow, Crazy Lake. You got a whole box filled with pictures of two hands and a blue sky backdrop? Well, it's actually a book. The box by this guy, Kevin Lake. And speaking of my family, look at that. There's the author's picture on the back. Me and Dearly and Daniel. I've got 25 copies of this available. I listed them earlier today and then posted about it on the community page, and I think already 4 or 5 of them are sold, so there's about 20 left. This is one of the best stories I've ever written. It's a good book. It's a good story. It's a full-length novel. I think this was 60,000 words long. But it's very interesting. Here's a really unique story behind the story. And this is kind of a romance novel. This is the reason I had to get a job at the post office years back, because I'd been doing really well with paranormal type stuff, cryptozoological type stuff, some other stuff in other areas of social media. And I'd kind of taken time away from all that to write a romance, because that was the story that was in my head that wanted out. And it did not do well. And I ended up chucking mail for 6 months. Turn things around. I no write no more romance. Me learn me lesson. Nah, if I ever get another story that's a romance, I'm going to write another romance. I write the story as it is, as it wants to be told. They kind of take on a life form of their own. But here's something very neat about this story. It's a story about a young man and a young woman. They're both gifted at certain things, but they're not passionate about that with which they're gifted. But they are passionate about music, and they come together through music, and they end up, I don't want to give too much of the story away here, but it's funny, they end up becoming established on YouTube. Now, here's what's so neat about this. I wrote this book about a year before Dearly and I and our channel here, Homesteading Off the Grid, really got going. We had the channel, we had started it, we made a couple videos about like some rabbits and gardening, and it wasn't really taking off the way we wanted it to. But in this story, this young couple that gets together and they produce their own music, they go viral on YouTube, and things go from there. And then it's really interesting to follow them and see, like she was a professional. She was actually a stockbroker. Would she leave her profession to pursue her passion? And the story itself lays out, mark by mark, step by step, pretty much what needs to be done to become successful on social media, in particularly YouTube. And it's kind of ironic because it was a year after this book came out, and we realized we needed to make the YouTube thing work. I thought, wait a minute, let's test that game plan or that blueprint that I actually put in through fictional story telling in the box and see if it works. And the good news is, yes, it does. I was once asked by somebody very knowledgeable on writing, would make me look like an idiot if we were to sit here and talk about history of writing, styles of writing, various authors, writing periods. They would make me look like I couldn't read or write. And they asked me to speak to a bunch of aspiring young writers. And this person asked me what I felt was a necessity, or what did I attribute, and this was years ago, and I'd had just a teeny tiny success with writing, but they asked me what I attributed to that little teeny tiny amount of success. And answers vary. You'll hear like Ernest Hemingway, one of my favorites, he said that all it takes to be a good writer is an unpleasant childhood, an unhappy childhood. Ray Bradbury, I like how he put it when they asked him. He said, when I got out of high school, I didn't have enough money to go to college, so I went to the library 3 days a week, every week for 10 years, and then he made it. Different people have, Stephen King's method always has been read a lot, write less, and no, the only day he takes off throughout the entire calendar year is his birthday. Still hear music. But he writes on Christmas. His birthday is the only day he takes off, and he writes basically in the mornings after he's up and he's had his coffee, and he writes till about, I think, noon, and then he stops. But he'll write 4,000 to 5,000 words during that period. I can't imagine the collection of unpublished works that guy has. They say Prince, the artist, the musician, God rest his soul, had like 20,000 songs recorded that were never released, something like that. I'd say Stephen King probably has a similar collection with his writing. But anyway, my answer didn't come across too well with this individual, the instructor, and my answer was passion. And I was asked to expand on that, and my take on it now, looking back at it, is I probably would have said it better this way. There's a big problem when we're not passionate about that which we do, because what is the motivation for us to do it long enough to get good at doing it, or to do it well? Necessity is one thing. I mean, Van Gogh, the painter, did you know that his brother was an art dealer, and Van Gogh would finish a complete painting every day? Sure, he loved to paint. He was passionate about his work, but he was doing that out of necessity because he needed it to eat. So there is the necessity factor, and they say necessity is the mother of all invention. It's a pretty good motivator itself, but if you get to a point to where you're comfortable, so it's no longer a necessity, then what? Well, you've got to have that passion. You've got to have, and for me, I go through this. There are times at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're in a dead sleep, and an idea will just come to your head, and it wakes me up, and I get up and I boot up the laptop, and I'll write from 2 a.m. to 4 or 4:30. That's not necessary. I'm at the point in life to where I could maybe jot the idea down that I had on a piece of paper and hope I remember it in the morning, but I'm grateful to still have that passion to jump out of bed and get those words written. Sometimes it's just part of a scene of a story that I have no clues even what the main story is. But anyway, that's just how it works. And that's kind of the magic dust, so to say, with the relationship between these two young people in this story, and what allows them to kind of, go on and achieve great success is that they're passionate. They have that passion. And this illustrates it quite well. This is PG rated. Sometimes people will read some of the Bigfoot Sasquatch Files volumes, or my latest full-length novel, The Lunatic. Tons of profanity, tons of adult situations. Those are just, those stories call for that, and that's why those are there. If you don't like reading that kind of stuff, don't read those books. But the box is PG rated. This is safe. I don't think there's a bad word in it. I don't think even one. And it just, this story didn't call for it. It didn't call for it. But The Lunatic, so many of you have read that book already. You've seen that it was kind of a necessary evil to have that stuff in there. And what about that camel? Whew. Now, a lot of you wanted to get autographed print copies of that too, but they sold out overnight. This probably will too now once this video comes out. But I think Tuesday, here in a few days, I'm going to have another 25 copies of The Lunatic. I got these, and I got a couple more titles coming. I think From the Graves of Babes, and I think Isle of Capri. I think, and October Nights, 31 Tales for the Halloween season. All right, so I didn't really intend to make this entire video an infomercial about this book, but I wanted to give you an update with my family, and they're healthy, they're happy. Go to my wife's channel, Life with Dearly. She published a video today of once they couldn't get the testing, they made the best of the day because they no longer have to be on quarantine. They went to some park and had lunch. It was Korean food, the kind where you cook it right there on the table as you sit there and eat it. And it looked so hungry. I mean, it looked so good. It made me so hungry. I paused the video and ran into town to get Korean food. This is a true story. But our favorite Korean restaurant is closed until like another week. Ironically, it opens back up on the day that Dearly and Daniel are coming home. So I went and had a very not even close substitute of Chinese buffet, but I was too hungry by this point to drive to where there's another Korean place. So anyway, watch her videos, Life with Dearly. You can stay current with them there. I'm kind of asking her to please make a video daily until she comes back, because so many folks are coming on the channel asking me in the comment section what's going on. I'm trying to get her to tell you what's going on, and I think she's going to do that over the next week. So anyway, if you saw anything up here, with back here, this is not a green screen. People are always asking, is that a green screen? No, it's green grass and it's green shrubs and trees. This is Virginia and it's summer. This is what, it's very lush around here. It's beautiful. Oh, and people like this shirt. They want to know where I got it. I got it on Amazon. I think it was 20 bucks. I didn't design this. I don't get paid to promote this shirt, and I don't get a commission for selling it. But if you like it, I think you can get them on Amazon. That's where I got this one. All right, so go get the box and have a great weekend. And if you're out west, stay cool. We see there's a lot of heat out there. See you for more next time from here at Homesteading Off the Grid and whatever the hell this channel's about.